Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Emily Hiles, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1 Cheryl Elston. We warmly welcome the family of Corporal Edwin Rawlings Fittock, whose story will be told shortly. We also warmly welcome members of the Royal Military College Duntroon, Class of 1961 reunion, and members of the Royal Military College Duntroon, Class of 1971 reunion. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament. Flowers of the forest, wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Edwin Rawlings Fittock. Edwin Fittock was born on the 24th of August 1896 in Ipswich, Queensland. He was one of 4 children born to local clerk and secretary Edwin Fittock Sr. and his wife Lucy. Edwin received his education at Ipswich Boys Grammar School, where he was a keen member of the cadets program. He went on to find employment working as a bookkeeper while volunteering in the citizen forces. Edwin Fittock enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 1st of February 1915. He was assigned to the 5th Reinforcement of the 15th Battalion and began a short period of training. He embarked for active service from Brisbane on the 16th of April that year, sailing on the troop ship Kyara. Private Fittock joined his unit on the Gallipoli Peninsula in mid-June after several weeks at sea. He took part in his first major battle on the war 2 months later, when his unit took part in the attack on Hill 971 in August 1915. Advancing on the 6th of August, the 5th Battalion formed part of the left attacking force. Its advance was consistently hampered by clashes with small groups of enemy forces, which led to confusion amongst Allied troops. At daylight, the men continued to push the enemy back in the face of heavy resistance from Turkish lines. During the fighting, Private Fittock was shot through the leg and badly wounded. He was evacuated to Egypt and was admitted to hospital for treatment. There, the severity of his wounds became clear and he was returned to Australia the following month. Having sustained significant damage to the tissue in his left leg, he was medically discharged unfit in February 1916. This did not deter him, and by December that year, Fittock had again enlisted. He was assigned to the 7th Reinforcements of the 42nd Battalion, and by February 1917 was again en route to the front. Private Fittock arrived in England on the 11th of April 1917 and proceeded to camp for further training. He joined his comrades on the Western Front in October, following huge losses during the Passchendaele battle a few days earlier. Within a week of his arrival, Fittock was promoted to Lance Corporal. His unit spent months that followed alternating between duty in the front lines and training behind the lines. In March 1918, the German army launched its spring offensive in a final attempt to break through the Allied lines. Fittock's units was rushed from south from Belgium to blunt the enemy's advance on the vital railway hub of Amiens. The 42nd Battalion was involved in a major defensive action, particularly around the village of Moulincourt, where it helped to stem the German advance on the ridge overlooking the village. Following this attack, Fittock was made acting corporal before the Battle of Hamel. The attack took place on the 4th of July 1918. The recapture of Hamel and its strategic surroundings was achieved in just over 90 minutes, using a combination of infantry, tanks, artillery and aircraft. These tactics were applied again when the Allies launched their own major offensive during the Battle of Amiens in August. On the 12th of August 1918, Fittock's unit was involved in heavy fighting around the village of Chipili. Attempting to raid enemy lines in broad daylight, the 42nd Battalion came under heavy machine gun fire, causing multiple casualties. Among the dead was Corporal Edwin Fittock. His comrade, Private Hudson, recounted his final moments in a letter written to Fittock's mother, which read, "I was with Corporal Fittock on the 12th of August in a daylight raid on the enemy's positions in front of a small village named Chipili. This is where he now rests, as he was buried the day following the raid. His death was caused by a heavy burst of machine gun fire. He started on our advance on the 8th of August, and I was with him under his command until he met his fate. I was only about 5 yards away from him when, from an enemy position, machine guns opened up to fire point blank at us. There was no time for anything, just to rush the post. Just before we reached the Huns, I saw Corporal Fittock fall. After we had gained our objective, the stretcher bearers brought him in. He suffered no pain as he died instantly. Please accept my deepest sympathy as I can truthfully say he was one of the finest lads and soldiers that I have met during my connection with the 42nd Battalion. Corporal Fittock was buried near where he fell. Today he lies at Heath Cemetery in France beneath the inscription, "Greater love hath no man than this." Edward Fittock was 22 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Edwin Rawlings Fittock, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director and staff, we thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.